Hi, welcome. We're just waiting for participants to join. This is just test mode. We're waiting for the guests to join. Let's see. Hey, Nisha, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Both of us, Nisha and Tejish, welcome you to the monthly Hangout meet of DataMeet. We are going to do introductions first, and after that, we are going to talk about data on demonetization, which Srinivas Ramani will talk. First 10 minutes, we're going to talk about introduction, and then either me or Nisha, or then I'll hand it over to Srinivas and Ramani to talk about demonetization and data related to that and stuff like that. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comments on the side. The comments are enabled on the YouTube, or you can just send it across to us on the email chain. I will have a look at them at the end, and then we can do the question answer session at the end. Welcome again. Nisha, do you have anything else to share as part of introductions?
Oh, yes. Hi, everybody. We just have some kind of updates from DataMeet. We, this month, went to the Ministry of Finance and presented some recommendations for open data. We asked them to invest more in the National Data Sharing and Accessibility Policy, as well as the data.gov.in platform. We asked them to give incentives to ministries to open up their data. and not to monetize data like they're trying to do with the railways. And we also asked them to invest a little bit more support in state and local initiatives around open data. We asked them to relook at license and privacy policies so that more open data can be used more responsibly. And the last thing we asked was for, gave them a list of high priority data sets and support for data collection across ministries and government of India. The full recommendation letter is on the DataMeet Google group right now. And I will be posting a blog post soon regarding how the meeting went. So it was a good experience. We went last year, and we were excited to be invited back. It was the IT group, so it was a lot of huge IT vendors and mobile communication manufacturers. So it was pretty interesting. There wasn't a lot of talk about data, so we were glad to be there to contribute that perspective. And that is kind of the big DataMeet update. We are also starting to plan Open Data Camp for next year. We're thinking around April, and we want to look at public health data. And we will probably be announcing some planning around the beginning of the next year. So keep a lookout for that. Dej, is there any updates with the village shapefiles?
Yes, I just almost cleared the Tamil Nadu shapefiles and part of Andhra shapefiles. So I'm going to upload them before Christmas. With that, I think we'll be done with the South India, Southern Indian 4 states and the Maharashtra. And Maharashtra, as in, I'm going to take it, borrow it from the project which Punitin has already done. So it's kind of already done. I just have to do a little bit of formatting and merge it into the main repo. Other than that, then we'll be done with 5 states, and then we can go look at other states. For example, I'm thinking of picking up Gujarat because there are data set available and it's much cleaner compared to others. So that could be the next. So yeah, hopefully by Christmas we'll have whole of South India and Maharashtra available on the repo. That's it from my about the village files. But I've been also doing some of smaller videos how to use these village shape files in your own projects. For example, we have the Karnataka shapefile, which is really huge. But not everybody would want such a huge file in their web project. For example, it's about in multiples of tens of MBs. So I've added a tutorial how to reduce the size of it so you could use the GeoJSON in a web project and stuff like that. I will continue to do some small screencasts. So all the links for the screencasts are also on the same GitHub project page, so that you can have a look at them together. So that way they'll all be together. That's it. That's pretty much about the village files update I have. Maybe once it's done, I can do all the how-tos on a Hangout call directly. That's it, Nisha.
Okay, great. We're still waiting for Srinivasan to join. I think there's a little bit of a delay. Dej, do you want to do some background on the demonetization conversation that's been going on, especially any data that you've seen? And I will try to get him on the phone and work out what happened. Yeah?
Demonetization, as most of would know, about 30 days back, roughly, Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, announced that both 500 rupees and 1000 rupee currency notes will no longer be valid, and they need to be exchanged for newer notes or deposited into the account. Considering that they form the biggest chunk in the currency, cash currency. It was a big move. People expected it to be difficult times, as in because so much money had to exchange hands, or between bank and people, or had to be deposited from across India. And considering 500 rupees is not a lot of money, everybody would have some amount of 500 rupees currency note with them or at home. I've not seen a lot of data as such after that. Also because I've not dig deep into it, look for it. Only two sites I've been following is RBI, of course, and some of RBI's digital payments related information, and some of related projects with respect to there are some crowdsourced projects where it shows which ATMs have money, which don't have, some kind of tracking as money comes and goes. And there is somebody had done a sheet of debt somewhat related to the demonetization, as in maybe around that time or in and around that situation. We don't have a clear way of demarcating, but there's some kind of listing or the newspaper articles around it. Those are some of the data I've seen. Also, I would look through some of number of ATMs across India as per census, and I try to do extract some data from OSM Turbo. It's a tool that you could use to query the OpenStreetMap, but just to see the distribution of ATMs across the country geographically. But it's a project I'm still doing it, and I'm not done much about it to talk about it. Beyond that, I think there is import-export data people have been looking at. But as I think, as many of you would know, Srinivas emailed across to everyone saying there has been stoppage, as or they've not published the data for some time now. So we couldn't get the latest data, but I think probably we'll have to write to them or do an RTI for them to restart that data publishing. That's another data set which is really, really interesting. The other data set I would want to see or would like to see would be unemployment data, but I don't know where to get really live or close to live unemployment data. That's one thing. And also I would like to get some information about Jan Dhan accounts and the money gone into it. Again, I think it's busy time. Probably if you send an RTI to RBI, it's going to take time for them because they have bigger tasks ahead of them, which is to manage this. The second part of the demonetization was going cashless. So the first one was to actually fight the black money, and the second part of as of now, the project goal is to go as much as cashless possible. So that leads us to the question of the digital divide and how many people have mobile access, or and then so if you at least have access to a mobile phone and a number or a connection, you could attach your account to that phone and you could do some kind of transaction, including USSD, through that phone. or the next would be some kind of UPI or wallet base, which would need internet connection. So the data on that also would be very, very interesting um, in terms of to study the impact of demonetization, or actually speaking, to study the impact of going cashless, or whether it's worth it. Or the question, we already had a digital divide between people who had connection to internet and people who didn't have connection to internet, or people who had connection to cell phone and people who didn't have connection to cell phone. Uh, with the money attached to the the digital accessibility, now we're going to see the divide there too. So well, the physical money had accessibility. There was not much, in a way, division between poor and rich in terms of how do you use currency note. But with going cashless, there would be based on whether you have accessibility to internet or cell phone connection. Uh, that is some the data on some of that would also be very, very interesting to study the impact. That's all I have gone through. If you have any questions in the meantime, I can answer those questions. Mitra, do you have?
Thanks, Dave. Shrini is running about 15 minutes late. Okay. So I am going to. Thanks, Dave. Shrini is running about 15 minutes late. So I am going to. Okay. Is this better? Okay. So Srini is running about 15 minutes late. He will join us at around 4. So I wanted to just go through and list some questions that had been coming up on the DataMeet list and a few other places. So Nikhil had sent an email last month about, kind of what data would be interesting to have. You've listed a few. So there's quantities of old notes being given in at banks and where they're being collected, quantities of new notes being dispatched, mechanisms of dispatching. Is it a branch-wise allocation decision happening at central level? The effects of demonetization on people. So Curran asked if there was any kind of data on deaths or health issues related to demonetization. Trade has come up. I think you covered that. Has there been any data collection around this? And there seems to be a couple of confusing things about the online electronic payment system that, the numbers aren't really coming out very clearly. So people are unsure if what the impact has been on those systems. Also, interestingly to note that the NSSO consumption data, which will be collected in 2018, 2019, around that. We will get a better idea when that data set comes out, but it probably won't come out for another 4 years. So looking at, what data in absence of government consumption data can be used to understand the impact of what kind of things that are happening in areas that people are just going to, and not so much more of a national analysis. Sage, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can. Go ahead.
Sage,
I can.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
I can. Go ahead.
Sage,
I can.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead, Nisha.
Is the echo still there?
No, now it's gone.
No, I was just asking you about the coverage you've been seeing. I've been seeing a lot of anecdotal things. Some interesting posts have been about the effects on human trafficking and how it's grounded it to a standstill, but not a lot of analysis on, immediate issues across like different types of economies and sectors. Just kind of general stuff or very local kind of anecdotal ones.
Yeah, everything
I wonder if you're seeing
I've heard until now is mostly story based. Nothing hardcore data yet. One of the things I would really want to see is employment data, because the stories which we've been hearing is people losing jobs, whether it's lower end daily wage kind of job, or even the small sector earnings. So I think that would be great to look at and have some data. But I think the unemployment data probably comes from government, but may not be measured every month or so. So we might have to look at the sources. I'm not particularly sure what sources to look at for that. Death, I think, is mostly taken from the newspapers, so which are mostly story based. So I mean, all we could do is remotely link it to demonetization and have the numbers somewhere, but I'm not sure how that can be taken as an absolute truth or some kind of truth. We need probably more digging there to see what kind of effect had demonetization on the life itself. Uh, that's all I would think about them. But mostly none of the government departments as such have come out in last 30 days to show the effect of it. So probably I'm hoping at the end of 50 days, they would come out and share some data as to how it went. But we'll have to see how it happens. There have been um, data collection as such, again, crowdsourced data collection on IT rates as well across India, which is also very interesting. But I can share that Excel. Somebody has been collecting that on Google Docs, so people can contribute or have it used in their project or something. That's another interesting one. I don't know any other data set which has been collected or open now. Uh, do you know any like newer ones?
Sorry, what?
Do you know any other newer data sets with respect to this? I was
No, I
thinking.
think
Hmm, go ahead.
RBI has been the only source, other than maybe social media, um, kind of data collection. Um, but I haven't seen anything regarding new, recently collected data that has been posted. Even like something like length of lines at ATMs or amount of cash going into ATMs. I haven't seen anything popping up. They've been quite tight-lipped about um, what's been going on. It seems it requires a lot of research or people to kind of like go and collect a lot of the data themselves across several states or areas. But what's been interesting is and I don't know, has Paytm released any numbers about how many new enrollees or new accounts they have?
I mean, there has been rough amounts that the number of subscribers have doubled and stuff like that. But again, those are based on news reports. What would be interesting is NCPI releasing data, the payments, um, national payments uh, uh, agency releasing data about how many transactions went through UPI system or USSD system, or how many new people got onto the system. I think that will be an interesting mm, data set. Again, I think these services were pretty much unknown before this whole movement happened. So, and anything we would see would be a growth. But again, I think it's going to be interesting if we could geographically put them where in India these things have been happening, just to see what's the digital divide with respect to demonetization.
What
And
do
in
you think would be a good way to reflect if this has been a success? Like, what do you think would be an interesting number or a statistic to come out to say that this had worked?
I think there were, at least until now, there were two primary goals which the government of India has released. One was to curb the black money, and the second was to reduce the amount of money in circulation and go cashless as much as possible. So the first one would number in some form would be to show how much black money was involved and how much tax was collected on this black money, or how much was it seized, and just to see whether the whole exercise was useful and the amount of money spent on the exercise, because printing new set of money and distributing and altering ATMs and people wasting time in the line. So it all involves money. So whether the money earned through like the seizure of black money is somehow greater than the money we are spending, standing in line and stuff like that. So I think that would be a good way to show this is a success, or it's a medium success or a failure. The other one would be generally to see the effect post the demonetization period, which was 50 days. So we have already into like end of 40s, I think. So in another, let's say by the end of December. So that's when we'll have to see what's the effect on people of this demonetization. Are people back to their normal life, regular life, just to see the project success as how it was planned and whether it was executed. So those, I mean, one is in terms of a final goal, whether there's a success, and one is in terms of execution, whether it's a success. So I think these two will be good questions to ask to data, and see whether data can answer these questions somehow. Even if they come up with not so successful answers, I think I mean whether the execution was unsuccessful or failure, or the whole exercise itself was a failure in terms of the goal. To have the data to show that this is how it happened and what happened will be a great way to a future uh, such big exercises, which involves uh, people across India directly involved in such programs. Those would be my question to answer.
Yeah. Okay, Srinivasan should be here very soon. But I have one more question. This has happened before. They've demonetized before. It was a smaller economy then. But I wonder if there's been any kind of research in what the outcomes of that were and how long it took to kind of stabilize and move forward. Um, to kind of see, okay, this is not exactly an unknown thing in history, but what it looked like in the long term. Um, and what it answer the questions that people wanted. And now this black money problem might not get solved through this, but is the digital divide um, and digital payments going to get solved by this in the future? But it's gonna be a while before we have any kind of idea.
That's true.
Okay, I'm going to try to add him. Oh, I can't add.
I invited Ishma for the
One
link.
Let me see. He's supposed to be on. 1 second. I'm gonna mute my mic and try to get uh, Srinivasan added. 1 second.
In the meantime, I think there are some links here that we have shared on Hackpad and people have been working, but I don't think there's not much there. But I think we've not had much data in the public, so probably that's the reason. There's not much in the Hackpad there. But here is the Hackpad. Um, so if you like to have a look at it, you can uh, and contribute as well. Mm. That way, I think it would be interesting to. Let's wait for Srinivas to join. I think it might take a couple of minutes. Hangouts always has issue with its usability. I don't know how it works. Every time I do it, it's like a magic.
Sorry, he's almost on. Just figuring out this plugin. Okay, Srinivasan? Srini? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you, Nisha. I think
Yeah, I'm just...
he's on mute. I can check.
We can't hear you.
I can see he's here.
Okay, until we figure out these technical problems, I think we're gonna stop the Hangout and then start it. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll just stop.
Sorry, everyone.